If you want to change your habits, you have to change your identity. And the best way to do that is looking at how do you define yourself.
Take it from me someday.
I truly believe that a well-crafted story has a chance to impact athletes and brands and people all over the country to unite them.
Someday we'll all be free.
Welcome back to another episode of the Unseen Podcast. I'm your host, Roman Isaiah. We have a great topic today, a great way to start off the new year, and it's talking about new beginnings and a reset. We're going to be talking about the data behind new beginnings or resets or fresh starts and how to capitalize off of those moments. And I think there's no better time to talk about that than right now in 2026 as we're going into a new year. So if you're someone who's ambitious and have set new goals in previous years and you didn't keep all of them, but now in 2026, you want to create new goals for yourself and actually sustain them throughout the whole year, then this is the podcast episode for you. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to use the momentum of the new year to create sustained change in your life. Before we get into the topic, I'm going to go ahead and reintroduce myself. My name is Roman Isaiah Brown. I am the host of this podcast called The Unseen. I am a former Division I collegiate athlete. I played football at the University of Houston. I just moved to New York from Texas. I work for one of the largest NFL agencies in the U.S., and I'm on a mission to become the best version of myself and also build up a community of people who want to do the same and help them along their journey as I take you along mine, which is why I decided to start this exact podcast, because I am on a real-time journey to becoming a better version of myself. And throughout that, there's so many things that I'm learning, and I hope to inspire, to motivate, to give back to my community as I grow and I learn. So that's why I started this podcast, so I can share my journey and my experiences to others all around the world, to athletes, creatives, visionaries, people who are just on the pursuit of greatness like I am. I'm here to share my story and other stories so we can grow together. Okay, to start off, I'm going to give a quick breakdown of this topic, some of the things that I've realized along my journey, and then I'm going to get into some data and psychology around resets, new beginnings, fresh starts, and talk about how we can utilize that momentum in 2026 to actually create sustained change. I don't know about you guys, but I have had moments in my life, years in my life, where I have started off the year super motivated, super inspired, created all these goals, set this vision, did all these different things, and I really set high goals for myself into the new year, only to 3 months after or after a quarter in, thrown those goals out the window, or like I've stopped pursuing them with the same level of energy that I was giving it at the beginning of the year. I know if you're watching this podcast, you're someone who is very ambitious and you want to reach these goals. You don't want to just set goals for the new year and not really achieve them and have all these habits you want to change and do all these things, but yet nothing really change. So let's talk about why in the first place we even want to change during the new year. There's actually data on this. We as human beings, we crave new slates. We crave novelty. We crave these things. This is why you see every year towards the end of the year, people start thinking about the things that they want to accomplish in the new year, because it's a new time, it's a new period, and our brains realize that and we get inspired to change. It doesn't have to be New Year. It can be a birthday. It can be you move into a new city. It can be after you get married or after this major event. There are times in our lives where it signals to our brain that something is new. And when that happens, we want to change. It's actually one of my favorite times, because you kind of dissect the things that you've been doing and you have the opportunity to grow and change. An example of this is I used to love going into the off season as an athlete, because it was a time for me to kind of reevaluate myself as an athlete and look at how I can change. How can I put together a plan to be better next year? The end of the season and the start of the off season was the most inspiring time for me. That was where I was the most motivated and the time that I felt like the most locked in, the most disciplined version, because I had all this energy and all this thought of what I could be if I change these things and work on these things and and the type of results that can come out of that. And a lot of times this allowed me to become a better version of myself when I stuck to the plan and actually implemented them. I came back the next season a lot of times better than I left the season before. And that's such a cool feeling to have. And I think about that and I want to kind of utilize that into this real world, into this real life. And it's not easy. It's hard. It feels weird enough harder for me. Not as easy as it was as an athlete for whatever reason. I want to channel that same energy into right now. And I want to help you do the same because I don't want this year to be a waste for you. I don't want the momentum of a new beginning to be a waste for you. I want you to utilize this time of inspiration, this time of motivation, and this time of built up energy towards your new goal. Use it to create sustained success, sustained change, and not just a couple months or a few months or even just 6 months. I want to see change in your life that actually lasts even past the year, but in totality throughout your life. So let's actually break down the data and psychology around resets and new beginnings. I did all the research for you, so you don't have to. So why do we crave resets? We crave resets because basically it means it's new. When things are new, it gives us as humans more dopamine. And that dopamine gives us more attention and energy towards our goals. So basically what that means is just when something new, it sends a signal to our brain and our brain lights up, encouraging us to explore ways to change. After people use this newfound energy to set new goals and set resolutions to change and have new habits, the reality is a lot of people don't sustain this change. It is just there for a little while, but then over time, this new energy kind of fades away. And the fading away of this motivation and energy leads people to stop staying disciplined towards these new goals or habits that they have set out in the beginning of the year. The reality is, for things to really change, it takes time. Habits take time to build. There's a study that shows that the median time for a habit to become automatic is 66 days. It will take you 66 days to doing something in a row before it becomes automatic for you. And obviously there's a range depending on what this is and what you're trying to change. It can sometimes take more than that. That's just the median time. There's another study that shows that 77% of people keep their resolution after 1 week, 46% after 6 months, and only 19% after 2 years. I feel like those are really humbling numbers. I definitely don't want you to follow that statistic or me. And so I want us to actually create something that is sustainable, to create sustainable change. And how do we do that? I think if you want to use this momentum of change, the momentum of a new year, and set these goals and not just keep them for a month or two, if you want to actually create this sustained change in your life, I think you need to do 4 different things. Number 1, change your identity. Number 2, change your systems. Number 3, change your environment. And number 4, let go of baggage. What you typically see people do, they set new habits they want to make, but keep the same identity. They set new goals, but keep old systems. They have new places they want to go, but stay in old environments. They crave new opportunities, but they hold on to the same old baggage. Okay, so let's actually break down in further detail those 4 points I made that needs to change for you to create sustained change and how we actually go about doing that. So if you want to change your habits, you have to change your identity. And the best way to do that is looking at how do you define yourself? How do you see yourself? Who do you say you are? If you believe yourself to be someone who is very talented, how do they act? How do they go about in this world? If you see yourself to be resilient, how does a resilient person act? If you see yourself to be courageous, how does a courageous person act when it comes to their decisions that they make in their life? How do they see themselves? Right? How do they talk to themselves? What type of things do they do? What kind of places do they go to? What kind of podcasts do they listen to? What type of music do they listen to? How do they dress? All these different things, right? If you want to change your habits, you got to start with these things in defining yourself and how you look at yourself. You know, how do you talk to yourself? Do they embody the things that you want to be? Reality is everyone wants to change their bad habits. Everyone wants to fix these things. It takes more than just a tweak here, a tweak there to change some of these habits. It requires a whole new version of ourselves. It requires us a whole new identity and how we see ourselves. Don't just set new goals, set new systems. Goal is the outcome. The system is the behaviors that lead to that outcome. For instance, if I say I want to build up my savings to $10,000, the system could be, hey, I set up an automatic transfer to my savings account every time I get paid. That's the system. It's a habit. It's something that's automatic and that's created to achieve the real goal that you're going after, right? Or if you want to say, I wanted to grow my personal brand this year, maybe it may take you to create a 3-hour time block every day to create content. You're creating that system that helps you reach the higher goal. Or let's say you wanted to lose 20 pounds, but you struggle with inconsistency going to the gym. Maybe you hire a trainer that gives you that accountability, or maybe you get stuck. This is my problem when I get home, because a lot of times I work out after work. I just am tired, I'm drained. But when I go ahead and just as soon as I get home, put on my clothes, that helps me get better to go to the gym. So it might just be, hey, I put on my workout clothes as soon as I get home every day. That's a system that helps you achieve the ultimate goal. So I think that a lot of times we have these things that we want to achieve, but we can't achieve them by pure willpower. I think I've said this before, but my coach, Tom Herman, this quote always stuck with me. He said, you rise or you fall to the level of your training, meaning you can't go really above what you've put in the work for. You can't get there on game day and do something you haven't trained yourself to do. In the same way, you fall or rise to the level of your systems. You can't really willpower your way into change, right? You have to create systems for yourself that makes it conducive to change. This leads to sustained change, because you can willpower yourself for a little while, but to create sustained change, you have to have systems in place that allow it to run smooth so it can become automatic for you. I say this as someone this year is trying to do that. I'm trying to create new systems and things to make it easier for myself to be able to achieve my goals, because I definitely struggle with this in creating systems. I am a person who wants to rely on willpower. I'm a person who thinks I can just overcome my fatigue or whatever it is. But there's actually a quote by the great Jimmy Johnson, and he said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Meaning there's a lot of things we want to do. There's a lot of things we want to achieve. There's a lot of things we believe about ourselves. But in the moment when we're tired, when we're fatigued, we will fall back to our old ways. We will give up on the things that our higher self said we wanted to do before we were tired, before we were exhausted, before we were fatigued. This can apply to a lot of things in life. You may be trying to build a business and you get home and you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't want to do it. You know how important it is. You set goals for yourself for this year, but in that moment, you feel tired. You feel like, I don't want to work right now. I don't want to do this right now. When you're fatigued in that moment, you kind of have a decision to make, and you kind of have to push past that to be able to step into the higher version of yourself. I've done this all the time where I set an alarm, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to protect the morning. But when that time comes, I'm tired. I snooze. I'm allowing my current state of being to dictate. That being said, one, you have to decide to not allow that fatigue to win. But two, you got to create systems in place to do a better job of not allowing that fatigue to take over. This is why, for instance, athletes train hard, because when you're tired and fatigued, it's pretty much physically impossible to continue to produce at the same level as when you're fresh, right? Your body legitimately just gets down your energy. So you train for endurance and you get into better shape so you can continue to play at a high level even when your body's fatigued. You create that system. You fall to your level of your training. In the same way, you have to kind of train your way to get past that. Maybe it's going to bed earlier, so when that alarm does come up in the morning, you're able to not snooze and go because you're not tired because you went to bed at the right time. The third point, change your environment. Let's define what your environment is. I feel like it's literally your physical environment, your apartment, your house, your office, all those things. Then it's the people around you, the things you listen to, the music you listen to. I think if you want to have sustained change, you have to change your environment, make it conducive for you to actually have sustained change. I want to be a podcaster this year in 2026. I guess I am, but I want to be more of a successful podcaster this year. When I think about that, a podcaster, their setup is a certain way and their environment around that setup is a certain way. It's clean, it's precise. My setup is in my studio apartment, so I have to make the most of what I have, but I want to also make my environment feel like where I'm at, like I am in a studio, I am recording, I am doing it, right? I want to be able to match that as much as I can because I do feel like that environment makes a difference on the outcome. If I want to be consistent and show up, I don't know if you guys know this, but over 90% of podcasts don't make it past their like fourth or fifth episode. And I've already been past that. So that's great. I'm already like in the top 10 of podcasts, but I want to make my space conducive to continue to have sustained so I can continue to have episodes and stuff like that in my environment, knowing that my place is clean. My setup is here. I come in, when I come into this part of my studio, it is time to record. And I just think that that makes such a big difference in your life. I'm just going to stay on this topic of a podcaster so you can get the example. Are there other creators that are around me that's pushing me, inspiring me to continue to go towards my dream of being a podcaster? What am I listening to? Are there creators, content, other podcasts that I'm listening to that's inspiring me to continue along my journey as a podcaster, right? What are the thoughts that I have in my mind? Am I saying positive things about my journey as a podcaster, or am I being negative? You know, I can easily be like, oh, I only have these amount of views on my podcast or this or that, and that can cause me to stop my journey. So I want my mental space, my mental environment to be clear. So if you want to create sustained change, you have to create the environment around you that makes it easier for that change to happen. You got to make sure you have the right people that you want in your life to create this change. Does your place look like the person that you're trying to become? What are the things you're saying about yourself? And what are the thoughts that you're having in your head? How do you make that in alignment with the person that you're trying to become? There's actually a study by Psychology Today that says people who are trying to make a change in career, education, relationships, health, or just a change in mindset have a 36% chance of success if the changes were associated with a move to a new location. So definitely environment is huge. And maybe you do need to move to a new city to help inspire you to get you closer to your goals. The fourth point, leave behind old baggage. You can't take old things. You have to die to your old self. Certain things go so you can walk into your new season. This may look like getting rid of unhealthy relationships. This may look like getting rid of shame that's holding you back. This may look like forgiving people. It's really difficult to move into a new season with old things kind of holding down on you. The person you have to become requires a transformation, and that transformation can't happen with you holding on to old things. Just to summarize some of those things that we had in this episode today. One, I wanted to say, you don't need a new year to necessarily change. You can change at any time. The reality is there's actually increased amounts of dopamine that happen at the new year, and this is why we want to change. But it doesn't have to be a new year to change. This stuff can happen at any point, at any time in your life. I just think that right now is one of the times we have so much energy towards these new goals, and we don't want this energy to go to waste. We want it to create sustained change. You must believe that you deserve this new identity, this new life. You got to know that you deserve this. Have grace for yourself. In this new year, you're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to set a goal to do this, and you may not hit it, but it's how you respond in this life. You fall down, but you continue to get up and keep going. It's about the pursuit. The pursuit is what molds you and creates you into this new version of yourself. And so don't allow one day to derail a whole year. My last episode, I talked further in detail about this challenge. It's called the Dark 30. And basically it's a 30-day challenge with 7 different rules. It's not like the 75 hard. It is something that is realistic and sustainable to help kick off this new year. So if you're interested at all, please go listen to my last episode where we break that down in further detail. And as always, if you like this episode, please like and subscribe to this podcast. You can find the Unseen Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. As always, see you next time.
Take it from me someday.